Part 79. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 799. In the Styx Galaxy, Death Song Academy, Snow opened the door and entered the residence of the god of death, Karl, and faced Karl, caressing his chest and saluting. My god, Li Yang has arrived in the Chiwa star system, but something unexpected happened. Oh, what an accident, didn't everything go according to plan? Use the blazing sun to put pressure on the Red Crow star system and Tukeo to activate Dino's last legacy. If he gives up on initiating Dino's final legacy, then Dino will never have a chance to rise again, and the blazing sun will stare at them. Karl said unhurriedly that Li Yang could know that he was the one who led the Dino remnants hiding in the Chiwa star system. Originally, he had no intention of letting Li Yang discover the traces of the Dino remnants so early. But unfortunately, something went wrong with the plan. After hundreds of years of observation, Karl discovered that the Dino survivors did not choose to start the Dino legacy in China in the Chiwa star system and rebuild the two major gods of galaxy power and Neo Star War God project. It seemed that the god of China had stopped them. After Karl realized that the situation would not change if he waited like this, he guided Li Yang to find China. The conflict between Li Yang and the Dino civilization was triggered in advance, which put pressure on the god of China and forced the Dino survivors to resist and use the Dino legacy. As for how to control the intensity of the conflict between the two parties, Karl formulated a series of plans. Now that he heard Snow reporting a minor situation, Karl closed the book in front of him and made a sign of listening. My god, the force dispatched by Li Yang this time is beyond our estimate. Pan Zhen sent Yung Xiao Tianting to the Chiwa star system and brought a huge number of Li Yang troops with him. Although the god of China is powerful, he is alone after all. The combat power of the Dino survivors is also very limited and cannot be on the stage at all. If this continues, it will only be a matter of time before Li Yang wins. Snow said a little worriedly. He had a rough idea of his main god's plan, and he also knew that his main god had the purpose of making both sides lose. Now that the scorching sun is strong, he can't see even the slightest hope of victory for China's side. Karl frowned slightly when he heard this. The situation was indeed beyond his expectation. Yung Xiao Tianting was Li Yang's only celestial warship, so its power goes without saying. Karl originally expected that Li Yang would send out at most a few guardians this time, which would be enough to strangle the Dino survivors. Unexpectedly, Pan Zhen chose to do it himself. It seems that he has noticed something, and he is worthy of being the regent of Li Yang. But even if you noticed something, didn't you still go to the Chiwa star system? Merlot Heaven. Death God Karl, you pervert, why are you contacting our angels? Do you think you are tired of staying in the Styx Galaxy and want to come to our Merlot Heavenly Court? Kesha sat on her throne, crossing her legs and looking down at the projection of Karl below. Queen Kesha, I contacted you because I have information to provide to the angels, but before that, let me make a statement. I am not a pervert, but a scholar who devotes himself to the study of knowledge. Karl's posture was very low, but his words did not put him in a weak position. Oh, that's really rare. You, a god who studies death every day, don't stay in the Styx Galaxy to play with the beasts under your command. Instead, you have information to provide to us angels. This makes me wonder if there is some conspiracy. Kesha's eyes narrowed slightly, not intending to believe a word of Karl's words. That's right. Queen Kesha should know about the rebirth of the Dino survivors. Kesha's silence was regarded as acquiescence. There were not many things in the entire known universe that could be hidden from their angels. It was just a matter of whether they wanted to know or not. Currently, the Dino remnants are hidden in the Chiwa star system of the Milky Way, where there is a planet called China by the native creatures. What do you think this has to do with us angels? The Dino survivors are free to hide there. We angels will not interfere with other people's choices. Kesha's voice was calm, and she didn't care what Carl said about the other divine states in the Chaiwa star system. Carl just smiled when he saw this. He was very confident that he could persuade the angel to join the game. What you don't know, Queen Kesha, is that China is indeed related to angels. Feeling Kesha's eyes falling on him again, Carl said directly without any pretense. Thousands of years ago, before His Excellency the Heavenly Sword King left the Marrow Heavenly Court, one of her friends came to the Chaiwa star system, which was still in the wilderness period at that time, settled down in China, and established a city called the God-making project of the peak beast body. This God-making project is different from the currently known third-generation God-making project. I'm sorry that I don't know the details, but as far as I know, His Excellency the King of Heavenly Sword has also participated in this project. God's project. Moreover, when His Excellency the Heavenly Sword King retired, he also visited this place called China. As for the reason why His Excellency the Heavenly Sword King visited there, I don't know. Kesha's expression remained unchanged, but she uttered a sentence. Is this what you called me to say? Of course not. If Queen Kesha wants to know these things, she can easily investigate them. What I want to tell Queen Kesha today is that Pan Zhen, the regent of Liang Star, has arrived in the Chaiwa star system by driving the Yungxiao Heavenly Palace. Its target should be the Dino survivors hidden somewhere and the last legacy of the Dino civilization. I believe Queen Kesha also knows what impact the two God-making project technologies of Galaxy Power and Nyoxing God of War will have on the known universe after Liang obtains them. After hearing this, Kesha finally understood what Carl had planned. He just wanted to use the angel as a gunner to achieve a certain project of his own. So what if Liang gets them? Carl smiled carelessly after hearing this. Queen Kesha, what the angels want to do has nothing to do with me. I just think that the angel civilization, as a witness to the Dino Fire Sun Reconciliation Treaty, should know about this. After speaking, Carl's projection gradually turned into particles and dissipated in the hall, but Kesha's frown showed no signs of relaxing. Although I knew there was definitely a pitfall in this matter, what Carl said did make some sense. The Liang civilization is a big trouble. They have finally restrained themselves in the past few thousand years. If Liang succeeds in obtaining Dino's inheritance, it will definitely have a great impact on the current stable situation of the known universe. However, Kesha is not afraid of Liang, because Liang's current strength cannot threaten them, but Carl mentioned the connection between China and Binghua. As the King of Angels, she must know everything about China. Yan, come here, I have a task to assign to you. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 800. In the Chaiwa star system, Shenzhou, Tang Kingdom, over a city, the huge cloud sky hangs high in the sky, appearing and disappearing in the lingering clouds and mist. Seeing this, the Tang people on the ground knelt down and prayed in horror, thinking that it was a god descending to earth. It's so funny that the natives thought we were gods. That's right, I used to think that only beings like General Pan Zhen would be revered as gods. I didn't expect that one day we would also be treated as gods. Standing on the platform shrouded in mist, some Sun Army soldiers were talking quietly. The reason for such a large formation was because this planet called Shenzhou has a patron saint. This time they, Liang, had the power to crush them, so naturally they didn't bother to hide their heads and show their tails. They directly and openly drove Yungxiaoding to Shenzhou and set up a formation, hoping to let the little god who didn't know where to pop up know what Liang meant. Yang Tiandao. In the Yungxiao Heavenly Hall, Pan Zhen drank a small drink and looked at the projection in the hall. Below him stood 2 rows of Liang generals wearing complicated and gorgeous armor. The leader was officially the Tiger Demon Guardian among the 4 guardians of Liang. Yuan Li and Xian Crocodile guard Xian Kun. General, the Liang army has been deployed, and the Yungxiao Heavenly Palace has been successfully anchored. Yuan Li walked out of the queue and reported to Pan Zhen, who was in the main seat. Okay, now that everything has been deployed, let's call out and let the remnants of Dino come out and die. What to do, Tukeo? Li Yang has already caught up here, and there is also a celestial battleship. We can't fight against them at all. Even if we run, we can't run? Lian Feng said worriedly, as were all the other Dino survivors present, and some even started sobbing in fear. I didn't expect that after thousands of years, Li Yang would still never forget that period of hatred. That's all, I'll go talk to Li Yang's civilization and see if there's still room for things to turn around. Tukeo sighed. He had not expected the arrival of Li Yang. He thought they were so cautious and could escape the gaze of the known universe, but he did not expect that everything in the past would catch up with them so quickly. When Tukeo came to the city below the heavenly palace, he saw an unexpected figure. Sun Wukong stood on the top of an attic, looking up at the heavenly palace in the sky. Lao Du, you are indeed here. I, Lao Sun, did not misjudge you. Tukeo smiled helplessly upon hearing this. So what if I don't come? They are here to find us. If I don't come out of China, I will destroy all living beings. My hometown has been destroyed because of the war, and now I can't let this place be destroyed because of the war. Tukeo is very open-minded. He is the source of all causes and effects. If he can sacrifice just one person, he is willing to give his life. What? Lao Du, do you want to die? Sun Wukong frowned when he heard this, and Tukeo straightened his red official uniform a little, holding his head high and chest out, like a generous warrior. This is not about dying, but about sacrificing the ego to save the greater self. Lao Sun, we will never meet again, so I will go. After saying that, Tukeo stepped on the aircraft hidden in the clouds and flew towards the sky with a smile. The people on the ground started talking quietly, not knowing which god in the sky was this, but it did not prevent many people from remembering the scene deeply in their hearts. In the Yungxiao Heavenly Palace, Pan Zhen and a group of Li Yang generals naturally saw Tukeo's figure and his voice. I am Tukeo, the former marshal of Nyoxing. I want to see General Pan Zhen. I have some things that I want to talk to you, General Pan Zhen, in person. Bring him here, I would like to hear what he has to talk about with us. Pan Zhen waved his hand to signal Yuan Li to bring Tukeo to the hall. Marshal Kul, please come with us. Yuan Li turned into a ball of flaming meteors and came near Tukeo, accompanied by several Li Yang soldiers, surrounding Tukeo in the middle, pointing their spears at his body. I can't run, you don't have to do that, you just need to lead the way. And my current name is Tukeo. Yuan Li waved his hand, signaling the Li Yang warrior to put down his weapon. Marshal Tukeo, our general is waiting for your arrival in the main hall, please. Although the two parties are undoubtedly enemies, since the other party has chosen to negotiate, Li Yang will naturally not lose the etiquette of a high-level civilization, so Yuan Li's words are very polite. But the surrounding soldiers of the Sun Army were different. They were just small soldiers and did not have such a high level of self-cultivation. They kept holding their weapons tightly in their hands, for fear that Tukeo would suddenly attack. After all, Tukeo can be said to be one of the culprits for why Li Yang and Dino became what they are today. They don't dare to be careless about such dangerous people. When they arrived at the Yungxiao Heavenly Palace, Yuan Li signaled to close the barrier first, and led Tukeo straight into the Yungxiao Palace. Long time no see, General Pan Zhen. Tukeo first saluted Pan Zhen, who was sitting high on the throne. Tukeo, this is your current name, what? Are you planning to separate yourself from your past self? Also, what do you want to talk about when you come to see me? My time is precious. Pan Zhen had a straight face and a sarcastic tone in his tone. General Pan Zhen, I can't forgive myself for the mistakes I made. But Du came here today for only one thing. The mistakes made back then were all caused by our top management at Nyoxing going their own way. It has nothing to do with those poor souls who narrowly escaped the destruction of civilization. Now I am the only one left in the top management of Nyoxing. I am willing to sacrifice my life and Dinyo's legacy to implore General Pan Zhen to let those poor people live. From now on, Liang and Dinyo will not owe each other anything. After Tokyo finished speaking, he knelt on the ground and bowed to Pan Zhen. When Pan Zhen heard this, his eyes widened slightly and he stood up from the main seat, his tone full of anger. Tokyo, are you a child? There are hundreds of millions of lonely souls and wild ghosts in the blazing Sunday. Do you think you can eliminate their hatred by just giving your own life? On this ship in the sky, there are countless warriors whose families have been destroyed because of the revenge of the Noxian god of war. You think that your life and the mere Dino legacy can offset all of this? Do you think that's possible? Pan Zhen's angry questions echoed throughout the Yungxiao Hall, and all the Liang generals present looked at Tokyo with ferocious expressions. Thousands of years ago, the Noxian god of war's final blow caused the Liang star to almost disintegrate. Amid such earth-shaking changes, who dares to say that none of his relatives or friends perished as a result? Even if General Pan Zhen agreed to reconciliation, they would not be willing. The previously signed reconciliation treaty was just a temporary measure, otherwise Liang would not have expended so much effort to find traces of the Dino people. Is there really nothing to talk about? Tokyo knew that the matter was a foregone conclusion, but he still asked, and what he received in response was Pan Zhen's words that left no room for error. No need to talk. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 801. Tokyo said nothing more. The blazing sun destroyed countless people, but so did Dino. Dino could be said to be even worse than the blazing sun, and the entire civilization was burned to the ground. But now that the situation is stronger than the people, Tokyo is not going to waste any more words. When he decided to negotiate with Liang, he had already arranged his funeral arrangements. If he had not gone back, Dino's legacy would have been hidden in this land of China, waiting for someone destined to discover it in the future. Take him down and behead him in front of everyone on this land. Pan Zhen waved his hand, and several Liang army soldiers standing guard immediately escorted Tokyo out of the Yungxiao Hall. Outside the sky court, a platform shrouded in clouds and mist lowered to an altitude of several hundred meters. A dozen or so Sun Army soldiers held Tokyo down and half knelt on the ground. Listen to the remnants of Dino below. If you are captured without a fight, the general can still leave you with a whole corpse. If you try to resist, this will be your fate. Tokyo closed his eyes and waited for death without saying a word. In fact, he had expected this outcome, but there was no other way. As for going to the angel civilization for help, Tokyo is not that naive. Their Dino has not joined the order of justice and is not protected by angels. The people in the city below were still watching the excitement. They had no idea what Dino and the like were referring to. Anyway, the gods in the sky had not taken action against them for the time being. Do it! The Liang pioneer officer ordered, and the Liang army soldiers standing behind Tokyo raised their spears upon hearing this. At this moment, a golden metal rod with gorgeous carvings on its surface extended from the ground to hundreds of meters in the air, knocking the platform directly to the side. You people from the Liang star are so deceptive. Sun Wukong's words echoed between heaven and earth. The next moment, he jumped up to hundreds of meters in the air and waved the dark alloy rod in his hand several times. The armor of the Liang army soldier was immediately deformed by the smash, and he screamed and flew backwards. Sun Wukong landed on the platform and pointed his stick at the Sun Pioneer, blocking Tokyo. You little god, this is a matter between Liang and Dinyo. Have you thought clearly about the consequences of interfering in it? The blazing sun vanguard warned, while clenching the spear in his hand. Humph, don't think that I, old son, don't know about your Liang and Dinyo's nonsense. Lao Du has personally gone to your place to settle the matter, but you, Liang, still plan to kill them all. Sun Wukong said disdainfully, extremely disgusted with Liang's aggressive face. Old son, don't interfere in the affairs between Ardinyo and Liang, otherwise it will bring disaster to China. Tukeo quickly held down Sun Wukong's shoulder armor and warned him, fearing that Sun Wukong would be involved in this situation due to his recklessness. When the time comes, it would not be possible for them, the Dino survivors, to sacrifice themselves to expose this matter. Old Du, after all, we have been friends for hundreds of years. Are you going to let me, old son, watch you being killed by them? Don't worry, my strength will protect you. Old son, you have to think more about the people of this land of China. The scorching sun is so powerful now that we have no choice. If it really angers them, it won't be the petty fight now. Just as Sun Wukong and Tukeo were talking quietly, a flaming meteor flew out from the sky and rushed towards the side with unabated force. Sun Wukong frowned when he saw this. He turned around and held the dark alloy rod behind his back with one hand. He raised it and struck the void ahead. The rod quickly extended forward and collided with the flaming meteor in mid-air. There was a loud bang, and a ring of fire exploded in the air. Sun Wukong quickly grabbed Tukeo and jumped off the unstable platform, landing on the ground. Old Du, you go first. This Liang is not a good bird. Let me, old son, rub off their majesty first. While speaking, Sun Wukong showed a fighting spirit on his face. Regardless of Tukeo's words, he left the city with a leap and came to the vast plain outside. You little god, you dare to attack the Liang army and kidnap the remnants of Dino. Today, I, Liang Genman General, Yu Lei, will definitely take your life to suppress my Liang majesty. The person who spoke was the one who had just transformed into a flaming meteor and collided with Sun Wukong's dark alloy rod. He followed Sun Wukong and landed not far away from him. Sun Wukong carefully looked at the general who called himself Yu Lei, and saw that he had a rough and resolute face, wearing a golden crown, a suit of gold and bronze heavy armor, and holding a long-handled weapon similar to a sword. Humph, if you want to take my grandson's life, you can come and take it, but from my perspective, you are not qualified. When had Yu Lei, the general at the gate, been insulted like this? His eyes suddenly flashed with ferocity, and he rushed towards Sun Wukong with a single step. The sword in his hand was filled with blazing energy like fire. Sun Wukong faced him with a stick without fear. With a roar, ear-splitting sound waves swept in all directions, and the ground 100 meters around was rolled up by the impact of the spread of energy. You only have this little strength, how about I, old son, give you a hand? Sun Wukong used a dark alloy rod to hold the sword that the general was trying to hold down. While speaking, he actually let go of the hand holding the weapon, making it impossible for him to attack with just one hand. Damn it, you monkey! The gate general roared incompetently and furiously, raised his weapon and made a sweeping sweep, but Sun Wukong jumped up to dodge. The next moment, the dark alloy rod broke through the air and hit the side of the general's face, sending him flying out and rolling far away on the ground. It seems that the so-called Liang general is so proud of himself that he can't even take a blow from me. Sun Wukong threw his weapon to the ground without even pursuing it, straightening his chest like a god of war. The people of the Tang dynasty who were watching from the distant city had never seen such a fight between gods and gods like today. Today was a complete eye-opener. Some people also recognized the identity of Sun Wukong. After all, Sun Wukong is one of the gods worshipped in this land of China, and he has a lot of incense. Immediately, someone shouted excitedly, "That's Monkey King, the Monkey King." I didn't expect him to really exist. Who was up there that day? It seems like he's also a god. Someone else asked immediately, and someone interrupted. It must be the legendary heavenly court, but I don't know how the great sage Kishan provoked the gods in the heavenly court. Tukeo listened to the discussions of the people around him on the top of the city. He didn't know how to explain to these people who didn't even know what the universe was. That was not a god, but an alien. The heaven was not the heaven they imagined, but the heaven they imagined. It's a celestial battleship. The general who turned into a rolling gourd turned green and red with anger as he listened to Sun Wukong's disparagement, which was a bit funny when paired with his slightly deformed face. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 802. The Genman general knew that he was no match for the monkey, but as a Liang general, his pride did not allow him to lie on the ground and pretend to be dead. He got up from the ground and stared at Sun Wukong with his eyes. Seeing this, Sun Wukong did not stop taunting General Liang. After turning the dark alloy rod in his hand twice, he held it with one hand and stood ready. The gate general roared angrily, and the gold and copper armor on his body suddenly burst into dazzling light. The surrounding temperature continued to rise, and the earth was scorched dry and cracked. The central gate general was bathed in a blazing glow, exuding a majestic energy aura. Sun Wukong frowned when he saw this, and without waiting, he jumped to more than 10 meters in the air, holding the dark alloy rod in his hand. A deep dark light appeared above, and it hit the bottom. The general at the gate below also raised his sword, with an indomitable aura emerging from his body. Boom! A dazzling light like the scorching sun rose from the ground, setting off a raging storm. Even the Tang dynasty city thousands of meters away was affected, and the city was plunged into panic. After the energy flame produced by the explosion dissipates. In a circular pit of tens of meters, Sun Wukong stood quietly with a weapon in his hand, while Liang's gatekeeper general was half buried in the mud, and the deformed horse-killing sword fell beside him. Just at this moment, dozens of flaming meteors fell from the sky again and transformed into a dozen blazing sun warriors. The two leaders among them had rather gorgeous silver armors and were obviously not ordinary soldiers. Monkey, don't be too proud of your victory over Yulei. We are the left and right generals of Tianting Suanwei. Next, we brothers will meet you. Sun Wukong didn't care, but he didn't feel disappointed at all. Can't one come with two? Okay, Lao Sun, will follow. But don't be as careless as the one just now. After saying this, Sun Wukong didn't wait for General Zhou and Yu Suanwei to say anything, and rushed over as soon as he stepped on the ground. General Suanwei on the left and General Suanwei on the right immediately moved to both sides to avoid the rushing Sun Wukong. Lightning crackled immediately appeared on the spears in their hands. As they took out their guns, the lightning rushed towards Sun Wukong like a silver dragon. Well done, but with this little power, it's not even enough to tickle my old grandson. As Sun Wukong spoke, the dark alloy rod in his hand spun rapidly like a windmill in front of him, stirring up the incoming lightning into scattered arcs of electricity. When General Suanwei and Sun Wukong were fighting fiercely on the left and right, the soldiers of the Liang army they brought General Jinmin, who did not know whether he was alive or dead on the ground, back to the heavenly court of Yungxiao. In the Yungxiao hall, all Liang generals stared solemnly at Sun Wukong, who was constantly showing off his power in the projection. Regarding the strength of the gate General Yulei, General Liang present knew that everyone's level was not much different, but this monkey easily defeated Yulei. Even among them, the two generals Zhou Suanwei and Yu Suanwei, who have strong fighting power and a tacit understanding of each other, are at a disadvantage at this moment. No matter what magic method they use, they will be easily defeated by the monkey. Pan Zhen sat in the main seat without saying a word. Regarding this trip to the Chaiwu star system, he had already prepared in his heart that he would never achieve his goal easily. Now this god named Sun Wukong who suddenly jumped out is just the first difficulty that Liang needs to face to destroy the remnants of Binghua. While General Liang was thinking about how to deal with Sun Wukong, the battle situation in the projection screen also changed. After Sun Wukong struggled with General Zhou and Yu Suanwei for a while, he also figured out the general strength of the two, and suddenly lost interest and stopped holding back. Swinging away the thrusting spear blade of General Yu Suanwei, Sun Wukong leaped towards General Zhou Suanwei and smashed down the dark alloy rod in his hand. Holding the spear in his hand, General Zhou Suanwei subconsciously blocked it, but then an unparalleled force came from the dark alloy rod, bending the gun shaft he had propped up, and falling heavily on his shoulder. The sound of cracking fractures came from his shoulder, and General Zhou Suanwei stepped back with pain on his face. Immediately afterwards, Sun Wukong hit General Yu Suanwei who rushed over anxiously with a turning stick. They both fell to the ground almost at the same time. The place hit by the dark alloy stick was in unbearable pain. The bodies of the super warriors who were originally invulnerable to cold and heat seemed to have returned to their mortal bodies. If a master from Liang came to examine them at this moment, they would find that their bodies have been damaged to varying degrees, especially their toughness. There are even cracks in the bones. The reason for such serious injuries is inseparable from the dark alloy rod in Sun Wukong's hand. Dark alloy is a special alloy synthesized with some precious materials and precious elements obtained after the Super Seminary destroyed the black hole. It is extremely precious. The dark alloy rod in Sun Wukong's hand is made of this special alloy, which can absorb and decompose energy. Therefore, even if it does not have a sharp edge, it can still cause great damage to super warriors. Several flaming meteors fell from the sky again, but this time the ones who appeared in front of Sun Wukong were the warriors of the Liang army. My general has said that we will have a truce for the time being, and our Liang society will ask for advice again tomorrow. After saying this, the Liang army soldiers dragged the injured generals Zhou and Yu Suanwei back to the Yungxiao heavenly court without waiting for Sun Wukong to reply. Then the heavenly court of Yungxiao disappeared into the clouds as Sun Wukong watched. Sun Wukong looked at the sky with the sun hanging high in the sky. He was a little confused, but he didn't pay much attention and went to find Tukeo excitedly. The reason why Pan Zhen temporarily stopped fighting with Sun Wukong was that he didn't understand Sun Wukong's origin. After all, the one who could easily defeat General Liang was definitely a god, or a high-level battle god. The second question is very realistic. After the General Suanwei on the left and the right retreated, they searched the Yungxiao Tianting. Except for the two guardians of the four elephants and Pan Zhen himself, no one was confident in taking down the Sun Wukong. The third reason is to discuss with the generals how to capture Sun Wukong, and finally defeat him, so that we can successfully capture the Dino survivors who are still in China. In fact, Pan Zhen had another purpose, which was to see if this trip to the Chaiwa star system was set up by someone. He was deliberately stalling for time to see who else had not joined the trap. Otherwise, Liang would be the leader and end up being benefited by his civilization. Wouldn't it be ridiculous? Queen Kesha, I have successfully arrived in the Red Crow star system and discovered the Yungxiao heavenly palace of the Blazing Sun civilization. They had entered the atmosphere and had a fight with the local gods of China, but Liang didn't seem to take advantage. Angel Yan collected information about China during this period through the Eye of Insight and reported it to Queen Kesha one by one. I understand, pay close attention to Liang's actions, and remember to tell me if they want to use weapons of mass destruction. Yes, Queen Kesha. But do we really not interfere? Queen, the burning sun seems to be invading other civilizations. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 803. Facing Yan's question, Kesha was silent for a while before responding. Yan, there are limits to our angel's abilities. We have almost done our best to protect the civilization of justice and order. The Chiwa star system is not covered by the order of justice. And this matter involves Liang, Dino, and that pervert Carl. To be honest, if it weren't for the connection between there and Binghua, I wouldn't pay attention to this matter at all. Yan Vinyan fell silent. In the past, as a warrior, she didn't need to think about anything. She only needed to ask Queen Kesha when she encountered anything. But after taking up the position of the Holy Left Wing, Yan finally understood how difficult it was to maintain the framework of justice and order supported by the angelic civilization. I understand, Queen Kesha, I will pay close attention to Liang's actions. If they want to spread the war to the innocent creatures on this planet, I will stop them. Yan finally replied to Kesha. Okay, Yan, you are the Holy Left Wing and have the authority to act according to the situation. The affairs of the Chiwa star system will be left to you. But there is one thing, if it is found that Karl, the god of death, is involved, no matter what he wants to do, don't let him get his wish. After speaking, Kesha hung up the communication. Yan on the other side frowned, and the two young angel warriors who followed him asked curiously. Sister Yan, what orders does Queen Kesha have? Nothing, let's go, let's find a place to stay first, just the satellite of China. Next we just need to wait and see what happens. After saying that, Yan took the lead and flew towards the moon, the satellite of China, and the angels on the side quickly followed. In China, the sun is setting in the west and the moon is rising in the east, Dino base. Old sun, how should I say hello to you? Why are you so reckless? Tukeo pointed at Sun Wukong sitting opposite and sighed. Old Du, I don't like hearing what you say. Today, that piece of shit Liang was beaten to pieces by me, old Sunday none of the so-called Liang generals who jumped out can match me. When I continue to show off their power tomorrow, I won't believe that the heaven in the sky can stay above our heads forever. Sun Wukong told Tukeo not to worry. He was confident in himself, so the shrimp soldiers and crab generals of the burning sun were no match for him. Old Sun, that's not what I'm worried about. I used to be as confident as you, thinking that everything was under my control. But one failure made me lose everything. I don't want to see you, like me, living in hatred and guilt for yourself for the rest of your life. So listen to my advice and stop interfering in the affairs between Dino Liang. Tukeo warned earnestly that after all, he had lived in China for hundreds of years and had some feelings for this place. Since he was now in a desperate situation, he had already thought about it. But Sun Wukong's behavior is undoubtedly dragging Shenzhou, which was originally staying out of the matter, into Dino's chariot. This is a completely unreasonable disaster for Shenzhou. Sun Wukong hesitated after hearing this, as China still held a heavy weight in his mind. I will think about it. Lao Du will drink first and let's not talk about this for now. Sun Wukong's head hurt when he thought about it, so he simply stopped thinking about it. Seeing this, Tukeo shook his head slightly, fearing that saying this again would have a counterproductive effect. He stopped trying to persuade him. In Merlot heaven, Kesha had just finished communicating with Binghua and finally understood what the connection that death god Karl was talking about was about. Binghua has indeed invested in the project to create the peak beast body, and is also an extremely important resource provider. Binghua also has a full set of technical information regarding the project to create the peak beast body. As for the peak third generation beast body war god named Sun Wukong in China, he also knows Binghua. In this way, China can be considered to be related to angels. Just when Kesha was thinking about how to deal with matters related to China, Hexi stepped into the palace hall and met Kesha and spoke directly. Queen Kesha, I heard that you sent Yan to the Red Crow star system. Kesha was surprised and then said clearly. It seems that you also know about the Chiwa star system. Hexi, you and Binghua are still hiding a lot of things from me. He 11 was a little embarrassed. In fact, she and Binghua didn't hide it from Kesha on purpose. Some things were actually their unintentional actions, and they didn't hide it from Kesha intentionally. Kesha didn't care either. In fact, she could easily find out these things if she wanted to investigate. However, she had too many things to do and paid too much attention to, and she had no interest in knowing about some small things. If this incident hadn't involved the god of death Karl, the burning sun Panjan, the Dino survivors and other forces, she probably wouldn't have explored anything. After all, the entire known universe is too big and there are endless secrets to explore. It seems that you are also very interested in the Chiwa star system. What? You plan to take a trip? He-11 nodded lightly and did not hide his purpose. I have a backup of the technical data of the third-generation peak beast body here, but technology is always just technology, and I have not conducted experimental demonstrations. As for the conflict between Sun Wukong and Lai Yang this time, I can get real data on all aspects, which cannot be simulated by a celestial computer. And I also want to see if there has been any progress in the star drive technology of Lai Yang. After all, our Angel's star drive technology has not been updated for a long time. If I could get some inspiration from Lai Yang, wouldn't it save me the time of hard study? Kesha didn't know how to say good things about He-11. She obviously wanted to plagiarize Lai Yang's technical achievements, but she said it was an inspiration. Even if it was a reference, it would sound better than this. Seeing Kesha's expression, He-11 knew that she understood what he meant, and shrugged slightly, saying that I am such an angel. Okay, go ahead. But please pay attention to safety. Maybe you can meet Binghua this time when you go to the Chiwa star system? He-11's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he said happily. Then I have to go even more. I haven't met her in person for nearly 10,000 years. Every time I communicate with her, I always feel like something is missing. In the world of justice, in the purified star field, on top of the 1st Expeditionary Forces Annihilation class mothership. Binghua hung up the communication with Kesha, rubbed his smooth chin, and thought about the information contained in Kesha's words. The known universe has been in chaos these past few years, but a small Chiwa star system has attracted the attention of so many great gods. Binghua felt that he had to join in the fun. In fact, the main purpose was to support Sun Wukong. After all, Sun Wukong was a fighting god who could rival ordinary third-generation gods. Not to mention that he and his master still knew each other and had a good relationship. In addition, he was also involved in the birth of Sun Wukong. It would be a pity if he died like this. But Binghua was not prepared to go there in person. After all, his base was here, and the justice world needed her to guard it to prevent any accidents. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 804. In planetary system number 2846, two figures on the 9th planet satellite are fighting fiercely on the surface. Leng stretched out his forearm to block 11 Lugo's knife. The heavy force made his arm numb with pain, and he almost couldn't lift it anymore. But Zilugo's offensive did not end so easily. Her right leg had been raised at some point, and Leng Tiao flew away with a side kick. With a loud bang, it hit a raised rock on the surface. Just as it recovered, Zilugo's fist was already close at hand. Subconsciously, he squatted down to avoid 11 Lugo's iron fist, but then 11 Lugo's knee hit Leng's face directly. Under the huge blow, Leng felt dizzy. Seeing this, Zilugo stopped attacking, turned around and distanced himself from Leng again, and said in a deep voice. Leng, don't look with your eyes, don't think, just follow your instinct. Otherwise you will always be one step behind me. Zilugo found out Leng's shortcomings and taught Leng how to deal with them. Leng calmed down for a few seconds and finally returned to normal, but there was a dull pain everywhere in his body, but Leng just nodded and regained his posture. Seeing this, 11 Luo nodded slightly. Tenacity was the cornerstone of everything. If he gave up training because he was afraid of hardship and pain, 11 Luo would look down on Leng. Ziluo also put on the same posture as Leng. After a moment, seeing Leng Bu let an attack, he stepped heavily on the ground with his right foot, and his body immediately rushed forward. Leng saw that she had suffered a loss and did not fight at all. She turned around and dodged to the side. At the same time, she calculated the timing of Ziluo's landing and prepared to receive a whip kick. But after Ziluo landed, he quickly rolled forward, avoiding Leng's whip kick, and stood up. He raised his arm and slashed it with a hand knife. Leng had already experienced the consequences of a hard-on attack. He was standing on one side, but Ziluo's dropped hand knife made a temporary change and swept horizontally across Leng's breastplate, making a muffled sound. Leng's body suddenly took a few steps back uncontrollably. Ziluo took advantage of the victory and pursued the attack, hitting Leng's abdomen and chest with several punches. Leng continued to retreat, but at the same time he was looking for an opportunity to counterattack. Seeing 11 Luo approaching, he forcibly stopped his retreat and swung his fist, but it missed. Instead, he received an elbow from 11 Luo in the abdomen. Leng fell heavily to the ground again, a picture flashed through his mind, and he quickly rolled to one side. The next moment, Ziluo's elbow hit the ground where Leng was lying just now. Leng turned over and stood up, his chest heaving slightly. Ziluo on the other side also climbed up from the ground because of Leng's successful dodge. The attack rhythm was interrupted, and the two sides resumed the confrontation again. Just as the two sides were about to continue fighting, a voice stopped the two. "You two stop first, Leng, I have a task that I need you to perform. Ziluo, please go back to Star Region number 8 first. I will notify you again when Leng completes this mission." Binghua walked over from the side and looked at Leng's embarrassed look and said something. "You have worked hard during this period. I can see how hard you train." After receiving Binghua's praise, Leng immediately felt that the pain he had endured during this time was not in vain, and said quickly with a smile on his face, "It's not hard, it's not hard. What teacher Ziluo taught is very useful to me. Okay, take a moment to clean up your makeup, and then come to my residence to find me. I will tell you the details of the mission." After saying this, Binghua said hello to Ziluo, then entered the wormhole and left first, just as she arrived suddenly. "It seems that the mission the Queen wants you to perform this time will not be too short. Leng, after these years of training, you have initially developed a certain degree of combat reflexes. To continue to improve its strength, what is needed is tempering in combat and constant daily practice." When Ziluo saw the Queen leaving, she came to Leng and asked her not to waste her training in the future. "But teacher Ziluo, I still can't stand a few moves in your hands." Leng was actually a little frustrated. After being beaten severely by 11 Luo for so long and sparring with her for so long, she never managed to beat a single move. "Leng, in fact, you are already considered a strong one among the new generation of angels. Don't compare me with you. You are different from us. In our time there were wars everywhere, with male angels and animal civilizations. There were always endless battles. Every battle is on the verge of death. Those who are lucky will survive, but those who are unlucky will perish on the battlefield long ago. It is this cruel experience that has created the extremely strong combat awareness and reflexes of our generation of angel warriors. So relax, there are not many people of your generation who can beat you." Ziluo Xiao showed a smile, and finally told Leng, "If you encounter something that cannot be solved in the future, don't show off. Because you still have your teacher, and me. We will be your strongest backing, so don't be stubborn and act hot-headed." After 11 Luo finished speaking, he patted Leng's shoulder and turned to leave. Knowing that Leng was about to leave her, 11 Luo was actually a little reluctant to leave. And the reason why Ziluo finally said those words with unknown meaning was because Ziluo thought of his former good friend Yinga. She was afraid of the cold and was just like her good friend. The news of her death would come that day. After all, Leng's character is more reckless and stubborn than her friend Yinga. When Binghua saw Leng again, Leng had a completely new look, and his hair was tied back again, with a few strands of golden hair hanging down from his forehead, looking extremely clean and neat. "Here you go, sit down first." Leng Yiyan sat down obediently and waited for his teacher's instructions. "It has been more than 100 years since you came to the world of justice, and you have learned a lot of skills and knowledge during this time. Originally, I wanted to wait until you started training in Ziluo before letting you return to the known universe to continue serving in the Marrow Heavenly Court. But something happened recently in the Chiwa star system in the known universe. There is a planet called Shenzhou, and there is an old acquaintance of mine on it. He's been in a little trouble recently, so Leng, I need you to go there on my behalf and tell everyone there now that I'm covering that planet. If anyone dares to destroy it without permission, don't blame me for being rude." Binghua's tone of voice gave Leng a very special feeling, just like Queen Keisha. "By the way, because this trip is somewhat dangerous, Leng, I will give you temporary access to my arsenal. And before I leave, I will upgrade your divine body for you, otherwise you will not be able to open my arsenal. You have studied with me for so long, and this is the first time I have given you a gift, so don't refuse, accept it." Leng Binyan was very surprised. No one knew what the divine body represented better than Leng, who was born in Merlot heaven. Among the new generation angels, no one has yet obtained a divine body. It is not because Queen Kesha is stingy, but because there are no new generation angels who are qualified enough. Even Yan, who is the holy left wing at the moment, is like this. The angels of Merlot heaven can accept her as the holy left wing. But if you want to obtain the highest scientific research results of angels, it is simply impossible for the third generation divine body, unless Yan Li makes a big enough contribution. Even Queen Kesha cannot go against the wishes of most angels on some things. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 805. Generally speaking, Yan's problem is that he exercises the power of the holy left wing, but does not have the reality of the holy left wing. After all, the basic configuration of the previous holy left wings is the third generation divine body, and this is also the cornerstone of this name. Different from Merlot Heavenly Court, the world of justice can be said to have been established by Binghua, and almost all access to precious resources is in Binghua's hands. No angel has any objection to this, so Binghua has the absolute right to allocate resources, but in fact Binghua only needs to consume resources on some research topics. Most of the time, he even synthesizes more precious resources due to his own research. It can even be said that most of the resources used by the righteous world to upgrade the divine body are synthesized and manufactured by Binghua in his spare time. After all, no one in the entire just world theory has a better understanding of supergenetic engineering than Binghua. Even if Binghua wanted to, he could create a new divine body system in addition to the Angel Super Gene series. This is not difficult for her profound knowledge, so Binghua will not encounter any resistance if she wants to strengthen Leng's divine body. Moreover, the divine body strengthened by Leng this time is not the first generation divine body in the usual sense, but the third generation divine body that is indestructible in one step. The latest model of the divine body, which combines the indestructible characteristics of the angel's third generation divine body and the third generation beast body of Sun Wukong, has toughness and strength beyond ordinary divine bodies, but may be slightly inferior to the normal third generation divine body in terms of multi-threaded computing and other aspects. The body of an angel. But this is enough for Leng. After all, she is obviously not the type to engage in scientific research and multi-threaded combat. As for why the cold strengthened first generation divine body was not given, but jumped directly to the third-generation divine body. It was because, in fact, after the divine body technology had developed to the third generation, the functions and characteristics of the first two generations of divine bodies have been included in the third generation of divine bodies. The reason why they are strengthened in batches is first to reduce the huge resource investment in the third generation of divine bodies. The phased investment can reduce the cost of the God-making civilization, the risks and pressures to bear. The second reason is to cooperate with the merit system and prevent the occurrence of no rewards. It also allows angels at all stages to have enough room for improvement and have a goal that they can strive for in the long term. Leng was not in the battle system of the justice world, so Binghua casually strengthened Leng's third-generation divine body. As for Leng's problem after returning to the Merlot Heavenly Court, Kesha should have a headache. It doesn't take long to strengthen Leng's divine body, so we have to admire the angel supergene developed by He 11, which leaves room for upgrading and transformation in advance. In addition, Binghua is also a master in this field. The supergene upgrade program specially created by her for Leng will not pose any risks and only needs to supply Leng with enough energy. And Binghua, who has mastered the technology of microstars, is most indispensable for energy. In the Chaiwa star system, China, as the sky wakes up to dawn, a new day begins. It was still the same sky, and the hidden cloud heaven appeared again, looking down at the land below. Sun Wukong, today I will ask you for advice. I am the black crocodile who protects Xiankun, and I am one of the four guardians of Liang. Xiankun held two hammers and turned into a flaming meteor and fell to the ground. Compared with the previous Liang generals who looked different and had magnificent armor, the armor on his body could be said to be simple. The thick black steel breastplate, the thick plate-shaped shoulder armor, combined with the resolute face and two beards, a mountain-like aura suddenly rose. After waiting for a while, Xiankun saw that Sun Wukong had not come out and was wondering what was going on. Could it be that he had been let go? In the Yungxiao Hall, some civil servants immediately became happy when they saw this, and one of them even said in admiration, "The actions of the Xian Crocodile Guard are extraordinary." Then Sun Wukong must have been frightened by the reputation of the Xiankun Guard, and thus fled in fear. But General Liang was immediately unhappy, but no one spoke first. After all, it was really embarrassing for them to fight like that yesterday. Seeing that Pan Zhen's expression did not change, he was still sitting quietly on the main seat. Seeing that Sun Wukong had not appeared for a long time, Pan Zhen glanced at Yuan Li below. Yuan Li understood the idea, quietly took 2 steps back, started to contact Xiankun, and whispered in the communication. "Xiankun, you say something ugly to provoke that Sun Wukong." After receiving the message from Yuan Li on the ground, Xiankun also felt that waiting like this was not a problem and shouted towards Zhou Nei. "Sun Wukong, aren't you afraid? Didn't you still say nonsense yesterday that I, the blazing sun, have no one? Why don't you dare to fight today? From my point of view, you are a person who is greedy for life and afraid of death. Why do you call yourself the patron saint of China? I bother." Xiankun kept swearing there, using all kinds of unpleasant and irritating words in turn, constantly outputting them into the surrounding air. Different from the one on the ground, the atmosphere in Yungxiao Hall was very lively. Liang generals praised each other for Xiankun's good scolding, which made them feel relieved. Liang's civil servants kept shaking their heads, saying that this was ruining Liang's reputation. How could he speak dirty words as the guardian of Liang? The two parties were talking and quarreling about this. One side said that this is what General Liang should be like, and the other side believed that he should abide by his own morality and maintain Liang's dignity outside. Pan Zhen looked at the noisy Liang Wenwu below and was a little upset, while Yuan Li was a little embarrassed. He was afraid that the general would blame him. He asked Xiankun to say some stimulating words to the general. Unexpectedly, Xiankun just let himself go. Just as the Tang officials and people watching the battle on the city wall thousands of meters away from the battlefield were talking about it, wondering why the great sage hadn't appeared yet. A piercing scream came from above. Everyone looked up and saw a raindrop-shaped air mass in the sky drawing a parabola and falling to the ground at a high speed, making a roar. Sun Wukong walked out slowly amidst the billowing dust and smoke, his golden armor shining brightly under the sun. His expression was also very bad. After all, no one would be in a good mood after being scolded for so long. Humph, my old grandson was delayed for a while by something. How can I be the person you call greedy for life and afraid of death? That's best. Come, today I will show you the power of lying. Xiankun didn't waste much time talking. Seeing the real master appear, he leaped forward and struck Sun Wukong on the head with his two hammers. Sun Wukong was filled with anger by what happened before. He shouted loudly and jumped up, holding the dark alloy rod in his hand upwards to attack. Boom! A wave of air swept in all directions, throwing up a burst of flying sand and rocks. Sun Wukong turned his body several times to relieve the force of the shock, while Xiankun was knocked upside down and fell to the ground, taking several steps back and praising him. With great strength, you can hit hard enough like this. After saying that, Xiankun ran towards Sun Wukong with two hammers in hand. A circle of blazing orange-red glow appeared on the two hammers at the same time, exuding frightening high temperature. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 806. Sun Wukong was floating in the air and saw Xiankun below like a chariot, dragging the bright sun-like war hammer in his hand, diving directly towards the ground without fear. The harsh sound of metal collisions mixed with roars echoed throughout the world. Compared to today's grand battle between Sun Wukong and Liang Guardian, yesterday's battle with Liang General seemed like playing house. The hammerheads of the two war hammers in Xiankun's hands are like two suns. Whether it is the earth or rocks, they will be vaporized immediately if they touch them. Sun Wukong also frowned slightly at this, and swung the dark alloy rod in his hand with great force, defusing every hammer hit by Xiankun and sweeping it aside. Xiankun didn't care at all that his attack was neutralized, he just focused on hitting hard. He was just using force to overwhelm people, without so many twists and turns. Fortunately, Sun Wukong has the indestructible body of a peak third-generation beast and an almost indestructible dark alloy rod. Whether it is the high-temperature radiation emitted by Xiankun's warhammer or the huge force of the impact, he can deal with it. If an ordinary god encounters this kind of attack, he will probably have a headache. After all, it is too shapeable and untouchable. As soon as it comes close to its own god's body, it will always be burned by high temperatures comparable to direct sunlight from a star. If you want to withstand this intensity of high-temperature radiation, you will continue to consume energy, and the blazing sun is recognized as a civilization that will not lack energy in places where the light of stars shines. Therefore, general civilizations will try to avoid confrontation with the blazing sun in stars. Direct sunlight during the day. On the moon, Yan and the angel standing behind him sat on a rock and observed the projected scene of the battle between Sun Wukong and Liang Guardian. It's really not easy for the Sun Wukong of this earth to fight like this with the four guardians of the Liang. Sister Yan, can you defeat the four guardians of Liang? A young female angel behind asked slightly curiously. No, I haven't upgraded my divine body. The Sun Guardian uses star-driven technology. Although it is very crude, the power of stars is beyond my current body's ability to bear. As long as I am hit by his weapon, my body will be seriously damaged, but my weapon may not be able to break through the defense of his black steel armor and divine body. Although Yan is extremely confident in his own strength, he also knows that the advanced combat capabilities of veteran god-making civilizations like Liang are much stronger than those of his younger self. In fact, after reading the situation in China, Yan had a clear understanding of his own combat effectiveness, which was the level of General Liang. The Sun Guardian who appeared today obviously has a divine body. With the extremely powerful star drive technology, the destructive power is not ordinary. Holy shit, this is a god that jumped out of there, so powerful. Morgana is using the powerful computing power of Demon 2 to remotely monitor the developments in China. After all, the Chaiwa star system is so lively. As the leader of the demon, how could she not join in the fun? Queen, according to the only information we have read, he seems to be a local god in China. We can't read the other information at all. Haha, it's only normal that it can't be read. From the Queen's point of view, this guy and I are the same level of gods. If the information is easily read, will the third generation divine body still be the third generation divine body? Morgana paced back and forth, put her fingers on her chin, thought for a while and then waved her hand. I don't want to think about it anymore, Achuo, give Demon 2 to me, the Queen, and drive it to the Chaiwa star system. Queen, I want to recruit him. It just so happens that he is now entangled by Liang, and I will solve the problem for him, but I don't believe that he will inherit my love. Morgana's crazy laugher seemed to see Sun Wukong becoming her subordinate and fighting with her in the Merlot heaven. Seeing that the Queen had fallen into fantasy again, Achuo shook his head slightly helplessly and ordered the demon below to start the demon number 2. As the news spread that Liang was having a fierce battle with a god in the Chaiwa star system, the subsequent impact of this incident became more and more important. Not only the demons wanted to join in the fun, but some ordinary god-making civilizations also wanted to see what kind of civilization caused Liang trouble. Boom! A loud noise reached the eardrums of those watching the battle, and at the same time, the fire cloud rose into the sky. Seeing that the battle between Sun Wukong and Xiankun was showing signs of escalation, Dukeo, who came to the city, directly found the local officials and asked them to quickly arrange for the people in the city to evacuate. No one knows better than Dukeo how great the damage will be caused when the gods let go of their hands and feet, let alone the gods of the blazing sun civilization who are good at large-scale destruction. Sun Wukong and Xiankun looked at each other in the fire cloud, and traces of dark energy emerged from both sides' bodies, which was different from the formless and colorless dark energy of Sun Wukong. Xiankun's dark energy showed a bright orange color like fire, and just looking at it seemed to have flames burning his eyes. You monkey is really powerful. You got hit by me several times and you didn't get hurt at all. Sun Wukong flicked the slightly curled monkey hair carelessly, and raised the corners of his mouth. If you want to hurt my old grandson, the hammer in your hand is still a little short of a fire. Really? Today I will show you why we call ourselves the Liang civilization. Xiankun's eyes glowed with a faint golden light, and he quickly analyzed the surrounding environment, while calculating the atmospheric distribution of China and the star data of the Chaiwa star system. After a moment, the golden light disappeared, and Xiankun leapt into the sky. The war hammer in his right hand was raised high, and the calculation formula for driving star energy and the formula for driving energy in his mind began to operate together. Seeing that something was wrong, Sun Wukong's eyes also lit up with a faint golden light. The dark energy analysis function was activated, and he immediately saw an extremely huge amount of energy converging towards the war hammer in Xiankun's hand. How dare you do this? Sun Wukong was really angry now, because Xiankun was actually driving the light energy above their heads and the energy emitted by the sun. Although Sun Wukong didn't understand energy driving technology, he could also understand the consequences of such a terrifying energy gathering. Dukeo in the distance naturally noticed something strange in the sky, because the originally bright sunshine dimmed in an instant. The sun was clearly hanging high above his head, but it seemed to be cloudy, which was extremely strange. The next moment, Dukeo was horrified. He recalled in his mind the battle between Dino and the sun god, and half of Dexing was reduced to rubble. Among them, the sun god's specialty is to directly transport the radiant energy of stars and launch solar flare bombardments. Tukeo ignored the others and quickly shouted to the people around him who were still looking up at the sky. "Hurry and hide behind something solid." Seeing that the people around him didn't seem to understand, Tukeo hurriedly used Dino's algorithm to enhance his voice and shouted, "The gods are angry. Hide now." Immediately, the people around him woke up and hurriedly looked around for a hiding place, wishing that their parents would give them 2 more legs. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 807. Sun Wukong shot straight into the sky, and the dark alloy rod in his hand burst out with dark energy like golden flames, but it was already too late. A second sun seemed to appear in the sky. Xiankun did not hesitate when he saw Sun Wukong rushing towards him. He also knew that he had no time to accumulate energy, so he threw the war hammer that had turned into a small sun in his hand downwards. Seeing this, Sun Wukong's eyes spit fire, and he swung the dark alloy rod hard to hit the flying war hammer. There was a loud bang. The power of heaven and earth is so vast that it cannot be blocked by Sun Wukong's hastily accumulated energy. The fiery energy that originally enveloped the war hammer suddenly expanded to several meters in size when it encountered external stimulation. Then it grabbed Sun Wukong and smashed it onto the ground. The next moment, the fiery energy quickly spread around and swallowed everything on the ground. The sparse vegetation was instantly vaporized by the high temperature. The top of the city wall thousands of meters away was blown away by the raging heat wave. Some wooden houses in the city began to burn. For a moment, burning flames, miserable wails, and cries of fear echoed in this originally prosperous city. But for all this, neither the heaven in the sky, nor the god of death, Karl, who pays attention to this matter, nor the demons and other civilizations are of any importance. This is the conflict between gods and gods. These war weapons armed with the most cutting-edge technology of various civilizations have never been guardians. What they are best at is actually destruction. When Sun Wukong regained consciousness, his ears clearly captured the crying and wailing of the Chinese people on this land. He felt guilty for his failure to stop Xiankun's attack, but at the same time an unknown flame began to burn in his chest. The flame was so hot and raging, spreading from the chest to Sun Wukong's limbs, causing him to stand up from the lava-like ground. The blazing flames could not ignite Sun Wukong's body, and the power of the sun could not hurt him at all. "Fierce Yang, you are so deceptive. I, the old sun, have always held back my hand. Since you don't care about the lives of the Chinese people, I, the old sun, will definitely let you pay for the lives of the Chinese people." Sun Wukong roared to the sky, and the angry voice echoed between heaven and earth. "Sun Wukong, this is a war between gods. My target is not those mortals, and I don't bother to attack them. But they were affected. I can only blame them for not escaping from the gods' battlefield in time. I can't blame others. Why do you still want to protect those mortals when you are at war with our Liang? Sun Wukong, you think too highly of yourself." Xiankun's voice came from the sky, filled with a sense of arrogance and indifference that belonged only to God. There was no comment from General Liang or Liang's civil servants in the Yungxiao Hall. After all, those who died were not the people of Liang, and they were not angels who liked to protect the weak. They would not care about the casualties of other civilized mortals in war. Sun Wukong on the ground was even more furious when he heard this. He slightly bent his legs and jumped towards Xiankun in the sky, shouting in his mouth, "You, damn it!" Xiankun faced the charging Sun Wukong and was not afraid to pick up his war hammer and attack him. After a huge buzzing sound, the dark alloy rod in Sun Wukong's hand directly knocked Xiankun upside down and flew out. Sun Wukong kept moving. His body and the dark alloy rod in his hand rotated in the air for several times before suddenly stretching out and hitting Xiankan, who was flying upside down again. With a bang, Xiankan was directly knocked to the ground from thousands of meters in the air. Sun Wukong was still upset when he saw this. He returned the dark alloy rod in his hand to its original position and aimed it downwards again to blast it. As the rod lengthened, the front end became as big as a small mountain in the blink of an eye. With a muffled bang, the ground shook like an earthquake. Pieces of cracks spread crazily around the place where the dark alloy rod hit, and then the cracked ground was rolled up by the subsequent shock wave. This sudden change made everyone watching the battle unable to react. In the blink of an eye, the Black Crocodile Guardian, one of the 4 guardians of Liang, who was still aloof before, was knocked into the ground by Sun Wukong, and was crushed by his weapon. I don't know whether I will live or die down there. This god from China is quite powerful. It seems that we have underestimated him before. Yan's eyebrows furrowed, and she no longer had the leisurely expression she had before watching the show. This sudden change revealed a lot of information, and she needed to digest it. Unlike Yan, who was still thinking, the interior of Yungxiao Heavenly Court was already exploding. Pan Zhen frowned, and Liang General and Liang Civil Service Officer below were anxiously observing the battle situation. Seeing that Xiankan could not escape from Sun Wukong's dark alloy rod for a long time, they all turned their attention to Pan Zhen, who was in the main seat. Yuan Li, lead the 500 Liang army to bring Xiankan back. Finally, Pan Zhen spoke and gave the order under the gaze of Wenwu below. Yes, General. After Yuan Li saluted, he transformed into a flaming meteor and flew out of the Yungxiao Hall. Before arriving at the gate of the Yungxiao Heavenly Palace, he showed his figure again and gave orders to the surrounding Liang warriors. 500 Liang elites gathered together and went down with me to capture Sun Wukong. Yes, General. A platform floating around the Yungxiao Heavenly Court was filled with Liang soldiers wearing full body armor and holding long spears. They floated down quickly with Yuan Li. Sun Wukong was still crushing the dark alloy rod in his hand. His eyes could see that Xiankan's energy fluctuations had not completely disappeared, but had only weakened. At this moment, the sound of uniformed soldiers shouting came from the sky. Sun Wukong looked up and saw a forest of spears composed of spears coming towards him. Seeing this, Sun Wukong quickly shrank the dark alloy rod in his hand and swung it hard without any hesitation. The incoming Liang army spearlin was immediately dispersed. You idiots who only know how to bully others, let's see how I, the old man, will kill you. While Sun Wukong spoke, he advanced instead of retreating, and rushed directly into the encirclement network formed by the Liang army. The dark alloy rod in his hand danced left and right, stretching and getting bigger from time to time. The corpses of the Liang army were everywhere around the hammer. The body of a Liang army soldier fell to the ground like a dumpling. Yuan Li, who originally wanted to save Xiankan first, saw that the Liang army had suffered such heavy losses, so he could only change his mind temporarily and stop Sun Wukong first. Yuan Li held the 9-section double mace, transformed into a flaming meteor and rushed to Sun Wukong's side in the blink of an eye. The 2 maces hit Sun Wukong's back together, but were blocked by the dark alloy rod recovered in time. But even so, the force of the 2 maces was not weak at all, and Sun Wukong was directly blasted downwards. You separate into a team and go quickly to rescue General Suankan. I will stop him. Yuan Li gave instructions to the surrounding Liang army, and then the silver lightning on his maces began to dance and wrap around, making a crackling sound. Sun Wukong, I will be your opponent next. Sun Wukong turned around and took a sip, then rushed towards Yuan Li with red eyes without saying a word. Yuan Li exhaled heavily and faced him with his maces wrapped in lightning. The 2 sides fought together, and dazzling thunder and lightning shot out from the clouds from time to time, and they were constantly stirred up by the dark alloy rods swung. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 808. There were constant roars in the sky, and the air was blown back in all directions. Sun Wukong bared his teeth and stared at Yuan Li opposite him. Golden flame-like dark energy flames began to appear on his body and weapons. Yuan Li looked solemn and had lightning and thunder in his hands. Relying on the paralysis properties of the thunder energy, he had been entangled with Sun Wukong until now. But Yuan Li could feel that the intensity of Sun Wukong's dark energy was getting higher and higher, and each blow became heavier and heavier. If this continues, he might follow Xian Kun's footsteps in the next moment. Sun Wukong didn't think much about it. Since his birth, except for the time with Binghua, he had never fought such a fierce battle, let alone a dangerous life and death fight. Now, after being bombarded by Xian Kun's solar energy and baptized by Yuan Li's lightning, his body seemed to come to life again, and the dark energy that had been dormant for a long time resumed its flow. I, son, have never played as happily as I did today. But since you, the blazing sun, have hurt the people of China, don't even think about not paying the price. As the saying goes, you must pay for your life by killing someone, and you must pay your debts by paying money. Today, I will make you Li Yang pay for your life. After Sun Wukong finished speaking, his eyes suddenly fell to the ground, and his expression suddenly became angry. My old grandson, did you tell me to let you go? Xian Kun, whose armor was slightly deformed on the ground, was just lifted out of the huge pit crushed by dark alloy rods by several Liang army soldiers, and turned into a flaming meteor to return to the sky. But less than 100 meters away from the ground, a huge golden stick like a sky pillar fell from the sky, slamming Xian Kun and his party back to the ground before they could return to the Yungziao heavenly court. The giant golden dark alloy rod followed and fell on Xian Kun and others on the ground. Several Liang army soldiers who could withstand such heavy pressure were immediately crushed into pulp. Only Xian Kun relied on the strength of his divine body and was not directly killed. However, the damage to his already heavily damaged divine body became even more serious. In the sky, Yuan Li looked shocked as he watched his two maces hit Sun Wukong's arm, but failed to deform and twist it on the spot. Sun Wukong also clenched his upper and lower jaws in pain, and lightning flashed all over his body, but he still did not take back the weapon pressing on Xian Kun below. Lao Sun, said he deserves to die. Are you really going to start a full-scale war with our Liang? If the burning sun guardian falls here, the China you protect will also disappear. Yuan Li increased the energy output of his two maces, and the leaping lightning suddenly became stronger. Sun Wukong frowned because of the electricity, but still gritted his teeth and said, You threatened me, and I tell you, I won't do this. I heard that only half of your Liang star is left. If China disappears, then I, old son, will dismantle the remaining half of you. Yuan Li was furious, but unexpectedly, Sun Wukong suddenly let go of the hand holding the weapon and hit him with an uppercut. Yuan Li was immediately knocked away. Sun Wukong quickly retracted his left arm that had just blocked the double mace, and kept moving his fingers to relieve the pain and numbness in his arm. Glancing at the shallow dents on the wristband, Sun Wukong felt a little distressed. This was a gift left to him by his master. He didn't expect such a big damage to occur today. Just at this moment, in the sky, a heavy platform suddenly floated up on the edge of the Yungziao heavenly court. The next moment, dazzling light began to converge along the totems on the edge of the platform to the center. Sun Wukong raised his head and naturally saw this scene. He was shocked and quickly shrank the dark alloy rod and recalled it to his hand. The next moment, a dazzling orange-red light fell from the sky and swept towards the dodging Sun Wukong like a sharp sword reaching the sky. Sun Wukong relied on his speed to dodge, but after all, he was not an angel and did not have such strong maneuverability. Under the relentless pursuit of the light behind him, he was finally swept away. When the light was blasted into the ground, Yungziao Tianting stopped shooting. After the remaining energy of the light fell into the ground, a huge explosion occurred. Yuan Li did not check on Sun Wukong. He immediately rushed to Xiankun on the ground, carried him and turned into a flaming meteor, and quickly returned to the heavenly court of Yungxiao, for fear that Xiankun would fall here. On the ground, Sun Wukong held his weapon and started fighting again from the melted red ground. Looking at the sky in the sky, he felt that it was very annoying, and he wanted to smash it down with a stick. Just when Sun Wukong was about to regain his strength and fight against the fierce sun again, a very majestic and rich male voice came from the sky. Sun Wukong, I advise you not to move. Take a good look around you. Such an attack only uses less than 1% of the weapons in Yungxiao Heavenly Court. Sun Wukong looked around and saw a dark canyon dividing the plain into two halves. This was caused by the light just emitted by Yungxiao Tianting. You see, when comparing China and our Liang, there is a huge gap between gods and mortals. Compared with China, our Liang is a more advanced civilization. As long as you keep at it, I can bypass your previous disrespect for Liang. Moreover, the culture here is very similar to our Liang. Our Liang is tolerant. China may become a part of our Liang in the future. At that time, the people of China were my people of Liang. You were the patron saint of China. I can't think of any reason why we must fight to the death. Sun Wukong pointed his stick at the sky and shouted a question. Are you Liang so bullying and afraid of the strong? Don't think that I, old Sun, can't see that you have the intention of annexing China as soon as you arrive in China. When Lao Du talked to you before, you didn't want to talk. Now that I've suffered a loss, I finally thought of negotiating. Today, I, old Sun, will reply to you, there is nothing to talk about between China and you, Liang. Pan Zhen didn't care about Sun Wukong's answer. Seeing that Sun Wukong was not ready to give in, he turned around and returned to the Yungxiao Hall. Retract the troops and launch the Yungxiaoting into the universe. As Yungxiao Tianting disappeared into the sky, Sun Wukong also found a place to sit down cross-legged, thinking about how to deal with the Liang civilization and how to drive them away from China. That Yungxiao Heavenly Court was very troublesome, and it was a bit of a deterrent for Sun Wukong. The image of the beam attack that the Yungxiao Heavenly Court sent out before was like a sword that reached the sky, still clearly echoed in his mind. Sun Wukong is not afraid of such an attack. He can't kill himself anyway. He just suffered some injuries, which is not a problem, but Shenzhou cannot. If we come a few more times, China will not only become a wasteland, but it will also cause a loss of life. However, the heavenly court of Yungxiao, which was orbiting in China's outer space, welcomed a distinguished guest. I didn't expect that the holy left wing of the Merlot heavenly court would come to visit. I'm sorry to welcome you from afar.